During the war, most Hmong women were charged with the hard physical labor of keeping their family farms up and running, raising their children, and supplementing the family income in whatever way they could.
She had a little stall where she sold vegetables and things like that. And so my mother's stall was right by the airport. So every time the planes come in, you would see all these dust rising, planes landing, taking off constantly, all day long, and never stop.
The Communist forces took over Longkiang on May 15, 1975, and seized power in the capital of Vientiane just 3 months later. As one war ended for the Hmong, another began. This one was a fight to get out of the country and then on to France, America, Australia, or whichever country would take the refugees.
During the time when Vang Pao was still in Laos, for me, life was very normal. It didn't seem like a war. What seemed like a war was afterwards.
Only a fraction of those who wanted to escape were able to get out. The rest had to stay and plot other ways to leave the country, for they were in danger. The communists had declared that the Hmong were to be hunted and killed because they worked for the much-hated United States. If they surrendered and cooperated, they would be sent to seminar or re-education camps.
Indoctrination, torture, deprivation, food deprivation especially, where you're giving just very minimal rice and water, called in daily to be beaten, psychologically tortured, where they would pull the gun to your head, like Russian roulette type of things, and you never know when the bullet is going to hit you, and if you survive it, then they take you back to your barracks, and the next day it starts over.
Rather than surrender, entire multi-generational families spent years hiding where they knew best, in the dense mountain forest or in remote villages on the highest mountaintops, like Pumbea. Always on the move, alert for the next phalanx of communist soldiers.
My father had already anticipated, the attack because he had military experience. So every night we would go sleep in our field houses rather than stay in the village, because he knew that they were going to attack the village at any moment. At the actual time of the attack, we were actually in our fields on a mountain that overlooks the village. So, I watched from the mountain the village being bombed and attacked. And all the villagers, some of them killed, others scattered. After that, we just ran from our field houses, up to Pumbea, like run further up. I ran out of food, just like eating roots and whatever we could find in the jungle. And then the communists just kept coming, just kept attacking us as we're running. We went around the mountain twice. All the men left because they felt that if they stayed and they were captured, they would definitely be killed. And then they told the women to go surrender. So we came back to our village and then we surrendered to the communists. So after that, we lived with the communists for a whole year.
Whether families surrendered or hid in the jungles, the ultimate goal was escape. Groups of people and sometimes entire villages crept through the forest, evading the enemy on their way out of the mountains to the lowland river banks of the Mekong River.
Avoiding towns and roads, going through the jungle, literally hacking the jungle, with knives, and then women and children falling behind. And eventually we did hit the Mekong.
On the other shore, miles away, was Thailand and freedom from certain death.
My father said the trip to the Mekong, for me, it was just like one suffering after another. I don't have memory of how many days, but my father said it actually took us 28 days because we got lost twice, We got lost twice. First, we ran into a pack of elephants, and some people were attacked and wounded, and then our guides left us behind. Next, we ran into a military fort. The people in front were attacked. A lot of people was killed. The next big obstacle was, how do we cross it? Of course, there's no boats. We have no idea where we were along the Mekong.
The river was also patrolled by the Pathet Lao soldiers like these who were interviewed for a documentary by the French television channel TF1.
Si les Méos traversent le Mekong, est-ce que vous les arrêtez ou est-ce que vous tirez sur eux?
On tire. Ce n'est pas moi qui donne l'ordre de tirer. Ce sont nos supérieurs qui nous ont confié la mission de contrôler cette frontière du pays. Nous devons appliquer à la lettre leurs instructions. Ces groupes de Méos, si l'ordre est de les massacrer, nous les massacrerons tous.
The Pathet Lao weren't the only threat. Many Hmong did not know how to swim, and with a fast-moving river as wide as 2 miles, many people drowned.
So my father say, okay, chop down as much bamboo as we can carry, come back, use that, as floats.
Years later, people made story cloths, or pandao, to process their experiences.
Put 2 poles, in triangle like this, and they fit another pole, and it fits right under your armpit. And then you put another pole right behind it, and you get in there and tie in. And then they strung the bamboos together, so one family would be floating together. We waited until nightfall, and then we just plunge right into the river and swim, literally swim for your life. When we crossed the Mekong, my dad actually put me with 2 other relatives of ours. So I was actually separated from my family, and I got to Thailand, I was actually alone. My biggest fear was that my parents would die, right? They would be shot, especially my dad. And now they're really gone. So I was just thinking like, oh my God, I could be an orphan. And somehow I knew that there was a Ban Vinai, and my parents had told me that I had an aunt there. So then I was thinking like, wow, I may have to go to Ban Vinai and find my aunt. There'll be loads and loads of buses that would keep coming, and I was just sitting there looking at the people that, disembarked from the bus and thinking, where's my mom, where's my dad, And every bus that came, I didn't see them. And then finally I saw my mom came out. And I remember the relief, and I just ran toward her and I was just crying, and my mom was crying too because she thought I had died,